friends. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen, the Family Connection podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Samantha Hayes, educator, parent, and founder of Beyond the Screen Families. And today we're going to talk about something that I recently wrote an article for in Mesa Verde Living Magazine. And I realize that many of you won't ever get to read it. And it is such an important concept. And that's the idea of a low pressure, low key spring break. We have gotten into this idea that spring break must mean that we travel someplace big and exciting and new, that we plan elaborate activities, or that we entertain our kids constantly. But what kids remember most, those moments that stick, are the simple connection moments. It's not about all of the activities and the stuff and the doing and the more and the more and the more. Spring break can be meaningful with just one intentional moment per day. So that's how I'm going to frame this for us. And that's how I want you to consider, maybe this spring break or next one, if you already have something planned, how can we plan something that's low key, low pressure, with just one intentional moment per day? Not something that's going to leave me overwhelmed and stressed out by the time it's over. So let's first discuss where this comes from. It's the cultural pressures, and I feel it too. Social media makes it feel like everyone is at the beach. Everyone's at Disneyland. If you live in California, or everyone's at Disney World, or families are traveling to those places. It always makes us feel like families are traveling somewhere. And if we don't do it, well, then our kids are really missing out. But that version of spring break is not realistic for most families. And more importantly, memory making doesn't come from the extravagance. It comes from attention. Kids remember the cookies you baked. They remember when you build something together. They remember reading at the library, going for the longest bike ride that they've been able to go on, where they're in charge of where you go. Exploring outside. It's those simple, normal things that create those foundational core memories. Even if you travel on an extravagant spring break, they're going to remember those core memories that are a part of it. The time you spent together. So instead of asking, what big thing should we do this spring break? What if you asked, what's one small moment we can create today? How will that flip and change your spring break? So let's talk a little bit about this, like one intentional moment, because for some, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, now I've got to take my kids to Disneyland one day, Legoland another day. I need to take them to the park for this event that I know is happening a different day. And it doesn't have to be any of that. I'm talking about one intentional anchor activity, one intentional moment. Each day of spring break has one simple connection activity. Ideally, that happens in the morning, because we know that independence, confidence, and play on their own as children happens when they get to connect first. So let's say you're a working parent and you're like, I'm not going to take the whole week off. This was me often as a parent. I'm not going to take the whole week off. I'll do half days. And I was able and fortunate to be able to work remotely for a large part of my career as a mother. And before I was doing this. And so for me, it was, we're going to do One thing intentional in the morning, and in the afternoon, mommy has to work and you need to play on your own. So mornings work well because of that reason. The connection. You have solidified that connection and made the day seem special. It works because kids have more energy in the morning. Screens haven't taken over yet. Everybody's waking up, they're getting their gusto going for the day, and it's new and it's invigorating. It happens well and works well because it sets the tone for the rest of the day, as we were talking about the connection. The activity can be 20 minutes or it can be 2 hours or 3 hours. You get the freedom and the space to decide what that's going to look like. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every single day. You don't have to say, I'm only going to work part-time. So I'm going to commit my morning until noon to doing one intentional thing with my child. Maybe you have to work full-time. You're able to work remotely or whatever. And you can be like, okay, when we get up, we're going to do something together for 30 minutes and then mommy has to work. It can be something like that. It doesn't have to be all morning long. The goal is connection, not perfection. And if you're watching and listening along, that's a phrase we talk about all the time. There are 5 low pressure spring break ideas. And these are the same ones that I dove into in the magazine article. And so I want to share and highlight them for you as well, because I think they're things that everybody can take no matter where you live or what you're doing. Number 1 is time outdoors. Nature resets kids and frankly adults very quickly. So maybe you're going to go on a nature walk. Maybe you're going to try a backyard scavenger hunt or go out and watch the clouds, collecting rocks or leaves. Maybe you're going to take a trip to the beach for the morning. And if you live in California, the Pacific, or anywhere along the West Coast, the Pacific is really cold. We don't even put our bathing suits on when we go to the beach right now. We go in clothes, we have fun in the sand, we stick our toes in the water. Sometimes my kids end up getting a little more wet than I initially planned them to get wet with. But we just go and we have some fun and spend a little time at the beach. Maybe you don't have the beach, but you have a creek and you want to walk down the creek and you're like, we're going to collect rocks or we're going to look for all the bugs we can find. Just go outside. Maybe it's chalk drawing because you want a calm, simple activity. It doesn't have to be complex. Just 15 minutes a day outside can shift the entire mood of the day. Completely shift it. And the fresh air is so good for them. Being outdoors is so good for them. It recenters and recalibrates everything in their body. Nature naturally stimulates curiosity the way a screen can't. So it's a great option for a low pressure, low screen spring break. Idea number 2 is to create a yes space. And if you're like, what is that? I don't know if you've ever heard of like Yes Day. This is a very miniaturized version, one that's doable for spring break without you having to say yes to everything they request. Or if you know Yes Days, it's usually with limitations, right? There are limitations placed on them. But it could be an area in your home where kids can feel free to create. So examples might be having art supplies already out on the table or cardboard and tape sitting out there. Maybe it's craft materials that you already have sitting out. It's just a space where the stuff sits and they're able to go explore without the constant no. It builds creativity, independence, and confidence. All those 3 things together just by having a space where they can go and do their thing. No rules, no guidelines, when it comes to using the materials in that space. So only put out things you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with paint supplies sitting out, don't put them out there. Or markers sitting out there, depending on the age of your children, don't put them out there. Think about, what am I okay with my kids just having free reign with? And those are the supplies you give them to. Cardboard and tape. I don't know about you, but cardboard and tape for us and for so many is like a magical item. Just that alone can sustain kids' attention for so long. And if you've had one of those big boxes, we had a big box one time around Christmas because we had ordered a bar for my daughter for gymnastics, and it came in this big box. The kids spent time designing and decorating, and that took a lot of time. And then the playtime afterward was rich, and it continued. I mean, that box sat in our house for over a month. The play continued for over a month with just the box and the tape. Number 3 is cooking together. Cooking is an incredible connection moment because it naturally includes math, teamwork, conversation, and life skills. There are 4 like major heavy hitters when you cook together, and they're just all part of the natural process of cooking together. So maybe you're going to bake muffins or make a homemade pizza. These are all the favorites in our household. I don't know about yours. Cookies. Maybe you create a snack board together and you start talking about design of charcuterie boards and how people make them look beautiful into shapes, and you attempt to do that. Kids feel proud when they have the opportunity to contribute. And if you've ever cooked a meal with your children, children are more likely to try and like a meal they were able to help with than one they weren't. So if you're wanting to try something new, take the opportunity, cook something together over spring break. Meals make memories. And if that's not an alliteration for you, I don't know what is. I'm a fan of alliteration. So meals make memories. Okay, the 4th one is visiting the library. I think the library is one of the most often underutilized resources in our communities nowadays. We are so used to picking up our phone, ordering the book from Amazon and having it here tomorrow, or reading from our Kindle, that we forget about the rich experiences that are built at the libraries. They offer discovery, quiet exploration, which is different from the loud exploration that kids are often attuned to. They often offer books that spark curiosity, and it gives kids the freedom to choose books that interest them. We love going to the library. We walk in, my kids know what sections they both can read in. They both walk to it, and they spend time picking and looking and trying to figure out what books they want to come home with that day. The libraries are often also rich because most often than not, they offer experience for kids too. And they often build those around the local breaks. So your library is more likely to have some sort of child experience on a break. For us, it might be a craft thing or a science thing. We've done those at the library before. So check out your library schedule, because there might be something going on there and you are like, the library is our anchor point for this day in particular. You might be surprised how the library turns into a favorite moment with your children. Libraries remind kids that learning can be joyful and self-directed. And that is a powerful combination. Okay, so now for my 5th one, and I'm pretty sure I've done a podcast. I'm losing track at this point of all the things that I've done podcasts on, but that is leaving room for boredom. We are living in a society where constant stimulation is the norm, but boredom is magical. Boredom is powerful, and boredom is a necessity. This one and leaving room for boredom is so incredibly important. Kids do not need to be entertained all the time. I'm going to say that again. Kids do not need to be entertained all of the time. Boredom is where imagination begins. When kids say I'm bored, it's often because the brain is transitioning from passive entertainment to active creativity. And that recalibration, as we've been talking about, is hard. The brain is like, what? You want me to work? Oh, no, no, no. I'm bored. But they don't need us to jump in at that point. They just need us to step back and allow them to figure out how to fill their own moments. That transition is uncomfortable, but it's also super powerful. So I want you to resist the urge to fill every gap. So on this last little bit, as we're thinking about spring break, I want you to think about the power in open-ended play. And I know we've talked a little bit about this, but open-ended play is a rich experience for spring break. And if your kids are in school, they don't have lots of opportunities for open-ended play. And so spring break, summer break, all those break times become an excellent time to really make sure open-ended play is an option. Open-ended play time builds important life skills. It builds problem solving, imagination, independence, and resilience, just to name four. And there are so many others that it builds just naturally as part of the play process. When kids have space, they invent, they try, they explore, they fail, they try again. They just need the space to do it. I just saw this happening in an enrichment that I was working with a group of students this past week. And they were working on creating a design for chain reactions to occur. Their only stipulation was they needed to make sure they had more than one chain reaction type thing occurring. So, for example, if they took the marble and rolled it to hit the dominoes, that counts as one. So then what's the next piece going to do to cause something else to happen? Those were their only rules. They said, you can use whatever supplies I have here. And I just gave them the time to create. They spent about an hour and 15 minutes working on their design and then actually building it. And in that time, I watched kids build, try, see that it didn't work, adjust their design, try again. And this process happened over and over and over again without me directing, without me telling them what to do, just naturally curious and really looking for their design to work. Now, would they have went longer than the hour and 15 minutes that I had given them? Absolutely. They were bummed because they were like, I need more time, but enrichment was over for us. And so we had to naturally end and see what worked and what didn't work. But that open-ended play, that ability to try and discover and to retry, that's where the best childhood memories are made. So if you love the idea of a simple spring break where moments aren't constantly planned and you don't have to stress, you should really check out our Wonder Box. The Wonder Box provides ready-to-go curiosity, invitations for open-ended activities designed to spark creativity and connection without screens. It's the perfect thing to have handy during that week of spring break when you want ideas ready, but still want your kids to explore freely. You can learn more about the Wonder Box in the show notes and get the link to directly go and purchase it. I'm telling you, this whole box could be part of your yes space. This could be your yes space. This could be the thing where when they say they're bored, you can say, go check out the Wonder Box. And that's it. That's your only thing you say to them. So as we wrap up today, I just want to leave you with a little closing piece. Spring break doesn't have to be extravagant to be meaningful. Kids don't need a packed schedule. They need attention, curiosity, and small moments of connection. So this spring break or next, if you already have this one all planned out to the T, try something simple. Choose one intentional moment each day and watch how those small moments add up to something so memorable and so meaningful. Thanks for sharing a little of your time with me today. Here's to creating more moments this stick. Bye, friends.